FA Cup snooze fest aside, there were incredible scenes all throughout Europe this weekend. Meanwhile, Neymar is crashing out once again, plus some bombshell announcements for this World Cup just dropped. This is DMAC Daily. This is very embarrassing for me to admit, but I'm gonna keep it real with you guys. I genuinely fell asleep during the FA Cup final. Tragic stuff, I know. I'm not beating the fake fan allegations, am I? But in my defense, I'd had a few beers that day and was coming down from the Hearts' defeat at Celtic Park. The vibes were already low come kickoff at midnight, and then the first half at Wembley just finished me altogether. I mean, Chelsea's starting 11 didn't scream optimism, did it? It was always a matter of when, and yeah, Semenyo, classy goal in the end, City deservedly won. They were never losing this game. Just look at the state of Chelsea's impact subs. That's who we turn to for inspiration. Tragic stuff, tragic season, just throw in the towel. But hey, on the bright side, Xabi Alonso's at the helm. Don't know how the clowns at Blueco pulled that one out. More on that appointment tomorrow. But enough about Banter FC for now. There were so many other significant developments this weekend all across Europe, starting with the Prem. And Casemiro's final appearance at Old Trafford would be a memorable one as United secured all 3 points to Forest. Bruno Fernandes equaling the Premier League assists record with 1 game to spare. I think he's probably gonna pick up Player of the Year regardless now, but there was major controversy in this fixture surrounding Cunha's goal. Many Forest fans will be lamenting the handball incident moments prior. IFAB handball lawyers, give me your takes below. Drama aside though, and a great day for Carrick at least, he's set to be given the role permanently, having now secured a top 3 finish, whilst in 4th, Villa leapfrogged Liverpool in a deserved 4-2 win at home. It had all the hallmarks of a fine Villa display. Rodgers curling one home to perfection, a McGinn screamer, Ollie Watkins bagging a brace, a great day in what has been a fine season for Unai Emery. The same can't obviously be said for Slots Reds though. Szoboszlai doing his best Stevie G impression in what was another disastrous performance, their record 20th defeat in a single season. Imagine hearing that at the beginning of 25-26, a baffling fall from grace. Meanwhile, you've got Salah speaking out once again in a not so subtle dig at their controversial boss, yearning for heavy metal football to return. Slot meanwhile confirmed he has no intentions to leave, all the while Chelsea just poached Xabi Alonso. Honestly lads, check in on your Liverpool mates if you can. Their only solace perhaps is that bitter rivals Everton basically bottled their European ambitions in a 3-1 loss at home to newly promoted Sunderland, who rise up to 9th in the table. That is unreal stuff. They're currently ahead of Chelsea, an absolute dream season for Lebre's side, whilst Brentford snatched a point at home to Palace, keeping their European ambitions intact. Although, I don't know about you guys, but for me, the major talking point of this result has to be Adam Wharton's goal celebration, casually hitting a backflip. This is confirmation a white boy can in fact have a little motion. Crazy work from the Englishman. If you could just repeat that same time next week via Arsenal, that would be greatly appreciated. Going further down the table though, and Spurs are in dreamland as West Ham have crumbled to a 3-1 loss away at St. James's Park, a result that puts them now on the brink of relegation. Voltemada ending his goal drought of 17 Premier League outings before Osula then got on the score sheet twice. The Hammers did manage a consolation goal late on, a screamer from Castellanos, but the reality here is that relegation now appears the most likely outcome. Spurs have a game in hand and a 2-point buffer on 18th place West Ham. Realistically, they only need a point to stay up because their goal difference is vastly superior. Granted, Spurs could still bottle these 2 games, like that's not an implausible scenario by any means, but if I were a betting man, I envisage Spurs narrowly surviving. If the Hammers do inevitably go down, it's going to be a complicated summer, that's for sure. You'd expect the likes of Bowen, Somerville, Fernandes, Juve, and Mavropanos to all depart. Moving to La Liga, and there would be fitting farewells for 2 legends of the modern era, Lewandowski at Barca and then Griezmann at Atletico Madrid. Barcelona comfortably prevailing at the Camp Nou 3-1 to fellow Champions League qualifiers Real Betis. Rafinha struck twice before Joao Cancelo curled one in from range. There was sadly no final goal for Lewandowski as the Polish legend bows out after 4 highly successful seasons in Barca, winning 3 league titles, 7 trophies in total, including a Pichichi trophy and delivering 100 143 goal contributions in 192 outings. Not bad for Unc Liwa, whilst Griezmann also had a fitting farewell in his 500th and final appearance for Atleti, delivering his 100th assist for the club in a 1-0 victory. Despite his complicated past, infamously leaving for Barcelona, he inevitably returned and went on to redeem his status within the club. I mean, he's literally their all-time top scorer and assist provider. No doubt he will cook in MLS with Orlando. Staying in Madrid, and a relatively calm weekend for Los Blancos. Who would have thought Vinny Jr.'s lone strike sealing the 3 points away in Seville, although there was controversy with the goal itself as Mbappe inadvertently elbowed Sevilla defender Carmona. However, the home side Sevilla will remain in La Liga thanks to results elsewhere, but the relegation scrap remains a crazy situation as 6 teams are still at risk of potential relegation. Deportivo Alaves and Levante have locked in recent weeks, going unbeaten in their last 3 respective fixtures to reach 14th and 15th place in the table. My GOAT, Matty Ryan, picking up a clean sheet in a huge 6-pointer at home to Mallorca, whilst Elche climbed up to 17th with a desperately needed 1-0 win at home to Getafe. That final match day will go down a treat next week. The same can be said for the Serie A too, at the top end and bottom of the league, starting with Napoli, who secured Champions League football following a comfortable 3-0 win away at Pisa. This result also secured Rasmus Højlund's permanent transfer to the club, as top 4 automatically triggered a €44 million deal. So that's officially the end of his United chapter. Streets will forget, memorable on his day, but he's done pretty well in Naples thus far, to be fair. Just below, and Milan had a much better weekend with a gutsy 2-1 win away at Genoa, ending a disappointing couple of weeks. It doesn't secure UCL football for Allegri, however, as Roma prevailed 2-0 in a feisty Derby della Capitale. Mancini's 2 goals put them in the top 4, whilst Como rise up to 5th in the table as Alberto Moreno's fine strike got Fabregas' side over the line at home to Parma. The Champions League dream is still alive and well. Juventus, however, are in a bit of a predicament now. Fiorentina throwing a spanner in the works with a 2-0 defeat of the Old Lady at the Allianz. Mandragora take a bow, one of the best goals you'll see all weekend. So 4 teams remain in the hunt for only 2 UCL places with 1 game to play. If we turn our attention to the relegation zone, it's even more dramatic somehow, as unfancy Cremonese defeated Udinese on the road, with Jamie Vardy, the 39-year-old mad lad, bagging home the match winner. But that moment wasn't the biggest of the weekend. It was Sassuolo v Lecce, where unbelievable scenes unfolded. The game was tied at 2-2 in the 95th minute when Volpato was put through on goal, but the Sassuolo wide man skies it. Then Lecce immediately go long. The ball falls to Nikola Stulic, who spins the opposing defender and proceeds to slot home the match winner. A Troy Deeney-esque moment to give Lecce all 3 points and subsequently overtake Cremonese in 17th place. Absolute cinema. But we move to Germany next, and despite surrendering a 2-0 lead to Eintracht Frankfurt, a point was enough to secure a UCL qualification for Stuttgart, as high flyers Hoffenheim capitulated to a 4-0 defeat to Borussia Mönchengladbach. There was also a 4-goal thumping via Marie-Louise Etze's Union Berlin at home to Augsburg, a fitting end for the interim boss. She's now set to take over the women's team come next season. Meanwhile, Wolfsburg kept their top flight status intact for now, having taken all 3 points away at St. Pauli. They'll now face a playoff tie to Bundesliga 2 club Paderborn for their survival. Staying in Germany, and a historic result over the weekend saw FSV Elversberg promoted to the Bundesliga for the first time in the club's history. A town of roughly 12,800 inhabitants, officially the smallest town to now ever host a Bundesliga club. An unbelievable success story. Just 4 years ago, these guys were competing in the 4th tier of Germany. This town is so rural, it doesn't even have a train station. Yet against all odds, they've managed 3 promotions in 4 years and are now set to go toe-to-toe with Germany's finest teams. You just love to see it. Heading to France now, and the final match day of Ligue for this season saw some wild results. Lille and Lyon were humbled at home, yet still managed to qualify for the Champions League. Strasbourg produced a thriller at home to Monaco, and Europe's closest proximity derby delivered late drama as Paris FC defeated PSG at the Depth. death, but I'd argue the craziest moment was Nantes v Toulouse, where the match would descend into sheer chaos after just 22 minutes as the home side's ultras threw smoke bombs onto the pitch before storming it moments later. Both teams evacuated the field as the match was abandoned. Riot police were forced to then intervene following the pitch invasion. Just a dark day for French football. Speaking of pitch invasions, and it was heartbreak for Hearts as Celtic put an end to their title dream over the weekend. The away side were chasing their first league triumph in 66 years and were simultaneously looking to break the 41-year title duopoly held by only Celtic and Rangers. The away side looked to be on their way when skipper Lawrence Shankland popped up at the back post in the first half to put the away side in front, but a penalty on the stroke of halftime gave Celtic a lifeline, and then late in the second half, Celtic Park would erupt as Daeza Maeda's first time finish put them 2-1 up. Now, if you only saw the VAR lines that went viral on social media, you may have been slightly confused, but if you actually watched the entire clip in full, he's clearly onside. Hearts then threw everything laid on for an equalizer. The goalkeeper went up for a set piece, but the risk didn't pay off. They were caught out late on as Celtic made it 3-1, and a pitch invasion immediately followed. Jubilant scenes for the home side. As for Hearts, they were understandably devastated. It's still been an amazing season. We love a fairy tale, but it wasn't to be. However, there was to be a fairy tale outcome in the Netherlands as unfancied NEC Nijmegen won on the final match day of the Eredivisie to place third and reach the Champions League qualifiers for the first time in the club's entire history. And in Austria, how's this for an achievement? Linz Athletic Sports Club became league champions for the first time in 61 years. They also won the Austrian Cup for the first time in 61 years, repeating the exact same double they completed way back in 1965. This sport never fails to deliver crazy moments. Another prime example occurred in Brazil, involving who else but their biggest name, Neymar. This is absolutely bonkers. So the Brazilian was receiving treatment on the sideline in their latest match when a substitution was set to be made in the second half. The fourth official mistakenly announced Neymar as the player to be replaced, so the substitute enters the match, and Neymar, having attempted to return back onto the pitch, was told he could no longer enter the field as he was the player subbed out. But as Neymar pointed out through the substitution card, he was never supposed to be taken off in the first place and was understandably furious. I mean, this was literally his last outing before the Seleção squad is announced. Of course, it just had to be Robinho Jr. who replaced Neymar too. One of the most farcical things I've seen on a football pitch in quite some time. And now to close out today's ep with some international football news updates, and 4 squads were officially announced heading into the weekend, starting with France, and the big absentee was Real Madrid's Eduardo Camavinga. Apart from that, no real surprises. It's probably the most stacked squad of any team on paper. A day later, and Belgium's final squad came out. I couldn't believe that Mika Götze wasn't included, one of the most exciting talents outside of Europe's top 5 leagues. There was also heartbreak for fellow left winger Kaoru Mitoma, officially ruled out with a hamstring blow. A massive shame for the 28-year-old and a massive shame for Japan too. We also had the official squads drop for South Korea, Haiti, the Ivory Coast, and Tunisia, with more expected to come through in the next 24 hours. By the time this video is released, I'd imagine more will be announced by then. Anyways, guys, that's all for today's video. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you tomorrow.